Europe in the mid-19th century was a turbulent land of shifting alliances, constant rivalries, and burning ambitions. Dozens of German-speaking states stood divided, their people yearning for unity but chained by politics, monarchies, and foreign influence. France watched with suspicion, Austria clung to dominance, and Prussia waited silently for its moment. Amid this storm rose one man, calculating, relentless, and shrewd, Otto von Bismarck, known as the Iron Chancellor. His cunning strategies, ruthless diplomacy, and mastery of power would turn decades of chaos into the birth of an empire. This is not just the story of a man, but of a continent reshaped by will and steel. Chapter 1: A divided Germany in 1815. After Napoleon's fall, the Congress of Vienna redrew Europe's map, creating the German Confederation, a loose association of 39 states. Austria dominated politically, while Prussia held military strength, and the smaller states drifted between the two. This fragmentation weakened the German people, keeping them vulnerable to larger powers and dependent on foreign influence. Yet beneath this political web, a fire of nationalism burned, with poets, philosophers, and revolutionaries whispered of a united Germany, one language and one destiny. But each ruler feared losing their crown in the process, and rivalries between Austria and Prussia froze progress. A fragile balance of power gripped the continent, making unification seem impossible. This chaos created the perfect stage for an ambitious strategist. Otto von Bismarck, born into Prussian nobility, would rise to dominate the political arena and exploit every weakness around him. His arrival would transform the dream of unity into a reality, but at a cost Europe could not yet imagine. Chapter 2: The Making of the Iron Chancellor. Otto von Bismarck was born on April 1, 1815, in Schaffhausen, Prussia. He was the son of a wealthy Junker family, raised with strict Prussian discipline and a sense of loyalty to crown and country. In his youth, he was rebellious, witty, and unpredictable, traits that would later serve him well in politics. After studying law, Bismarck began his career as a civil servant, but soon found his passion in politics. Entering the Prussian parliament, his sharp speeches and commanding presence marked him as a rising star. He distrusted liberal movements and believed only a strong monarchy could unite Germany under Prussian leadership. But Bismarck's true genius lay not in force alone, but in realpolitik, politics driven by pragmatism, manipulation, and hard realities rather than ideals. He understood that to unite Germany, Prussia must outmaneuver Austria, neutralize France, and control the smaller states without appearing oppressive. Every step from here on would be carefully calculated. Chapter 3: Prussia's Power Struggle. By the early 1860s, Prussia faced an internal crisis. King Wilhelm I sought to reform the military, but the liberal parliament refused to grant funds. Tensions rose dangerously, threatening constitutional breakdown. The king needed someone bold enough to challenge the deadlock, and in 1862, he appointed Bismarck as prime minister. Bismarck immediately clashed with parliament. He bypassed their approval, raised taxes illegally, and pushed forward military reforms. Outraged liberals accused him of tyranny, but Bismarck remained unfazed. To him, power was seized, not granted. His defiance laid the foundation for Prussia's military dominance. During this time, Bismarck famously declared that the great questions of the era would not be settled by speeches and votes, but by blood and iron. These words captured his philosophy, that unification would come not through debates, but through calculated wars and relentless statecraft. Chapter 4. First Blood. The Danish War, 1864. Bismarck's first step toward unification came in 1864, when Denmark attempted to annex the duchies of Schleswig and Holstein, territories with significant German populations. Sensing opportunity, Bismarck forged an alliance with Austria to confront Denmark. The war was swift and decisive. Prussia and Austria crushed Danish forces, forcing Denmark to surrender both duchies. Yet Bismarck had no intention of sharing influence equally. While Austria took control of Holstein and Prussia administered Schleswig, he deliberately planted the seeds of future conflict. This victory boosted Prussia's prestige and set Bismarck's plans into motion. He had tested Prussia's army, expanded its influence, and drawn Austria closer into a trap it could not yet see. The stage was set for the next act, eliminating Austria as a rival. Chapter 5. The Trap for Austria, 1866. 2 years after the Danish War, tensions between Austria and Prussia erupted. Bismarck skillfully manipulated disputes over Schleswig and Holstein, provoking Austria into open confrontation. On June 14, 1866, war began. A lightning-fast campaign known as the 7 Weeks' War. Prussia's modernized army, led by General Helmuth von Moltke, used railroads and advanced rifles to outmaneuver Austria. The decisive battle at Königgrätz shattered Austrian power and stunned Europe. Within weeks, Austria surrendered, signing the Treaty of Prague. Bismarck resisted calls to annex Austrian lands, understanding that humiliating Austria would create a long-term enemy. Instead, he expelled Austria from German affairs entirely, paving the way for Prussia to dominate the North German Confederation, a vital step toward full unification. Chapter 6. Master of Alliances. With Austria neutralized, Bismarck turned to diplomacy to secure Prussia's dominance. He courted Russia, ensuring its neutrality, and reassured Britain that Prussia had no colonial ambitions. He also strengthened ties with smaller German states, persuading them to join the North German Confederation voluntarily. Behind the scenes, Bismarck anticipated the next great conflict. France, under Emperor Napoleon III, viewed a rising Prussia as a threat. Bismarck understood that only a common enemy could unite the independent southern German states under Prussian leadership. Thus began one of Bismarck's greatest manipulations, setting the stage for war with France without appearing as the aggressor. He knew the next war would forge the empire he envisioned. Chapter 7. The Ems Dispatch and Outrage, 1870. In 1870, France feared growing Prussian influence and demanded assurances that the Spanish throne would not go to a Hohenzollern prince. Bismarck seized the moment. When King Wilhelm I politely refused French demands, Bismarck edited and released the EMS dispatch, making it appear as though France had been insulted. The French public erupted in outrage, and Napoleon III declared war on Prussia. This was precisely what Bismarck wanted. France would appear the aggressor, and the southern German states would rally behind Prussia in defense. Bismarck had once again turned diplomacy into a weapon. With careful planning, he transformed French hostility into the catalyst for German unity. Chapter 8. The Franco-Prussian War, 1870-1871. The war began swiftly, with German states uniting under Prussian command. Prussia's superior organization and technology overwhelmed French forces. At the Battle of Sedan, Napoleon III himself was captured, delivering a crushing blow to French morale. The Germans laid siege to Paris, cutting off supplies and forcing surrender. In just months, France suffered a humiliating defeat, losing Alsace and Lorraine in the Treaty of Frankfurt. This victory was more than territorial. It transformed the German people's sense of identity. For the first time, northern and southern states fought as one, forging a bond stronger than any treaty. Chapter 9. Birth of the German Empire on January 18, 1871. In the glittering Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, King Wilhelm I of Prussia was crowned German Emperor, surrounded by generals, princes, and allies. The proclamation marked the birth of a new power, the German Empire. Bismarck, now elevated to Chancellor of the Empire, had achieved his grand vision. Through war, diplomacy, and manipulation, he united 39 fractured states into one of Europe's most powerful nations. Europe watched with awe and fear. A new empire had risen, shifting the balance of power and setting the stage for the turbulent decades ahead. Chapter 10. Bismarck's Empire Building. With Germany united, Bismarck turned inward to strengthen the empire. He created a unified legal system, centralized administration, and expanded industrialization. Railroads connected cities, factories roared, and the German economy soared to rival Britain's. Yet unity was fragile. Cultural, religious, and political differences simmered beneath the surface. Bismarck launched the Kulturkampf, a campaign against the Catholic Church's influence, but faced resistance from southern states and clergy. Despite internal challenges, Bismarck kept the empire stable and prosperous. He understood that military power alone could not sustain Germany. It required careful balance between politics, society, and economy. Chapter 11. The web of alliances. Bismarck feared revenge from France and sought to keep it isolated. He crafted a complex system of treaties, including the Triple Alliance with Austria-Hungary and Italy, and a secret reinsurance treaty with Russia. These alliances ensured that France would struggle to find allies in any future war. For 2 decades, Bismarck maintained peace in Europe, using diplomacy as his strongest weapon. However, this delicate balance relied on Bismarck's personal skill and foresight. Few realized how easily it could unravel without him. Chapter 12. The Fall of the Iron Chancellor in 1888. Kaiser Wilhelm I died, and his successor, Wilhelm II, clashed with Bismarck's conservative policies. The young emperor dismissed him in 1890, ending an era of masterful statecraft. Without Bismarck's restraint, Germany pursued aggressive colonial expansion and naval armament, alarming Britain and antagonizing other powers. The very alliances Bismarck built began to collapse. Ironically, the empire he forged through careful diplomacy would stumble into catastrophe within a generation, culminating in World War I. Chapter 13. Bismarck's Legacy. Bismarck left behind a transformed Europe. He united Germany, altered the balance of power, and introduced social reforms like healthcare and pensions that endure to this day. Yet his methods carried hidden costs. By defeating France and Austria, he sowed seeds of resentment that would later erupt into war. His success in unification created a powerful but fragile empire. History remembers Bismarck as both a visionary and a manipulator, a man who reshaped a nation but could not control the future it inherited. Chapter 14. Lessons in Power. Bismarck's story offers enduring lessons about leadership and strategy. He understood that power is not gained by force alone, but by knowing when to act, when to wait, and when to provoke. His mastery of Realpolitik demonstrates that diplomacy and military strength must complement, not replace, one another. Bismarck never fought unnecessary wars. Every conflict served a calculated purpose. In a world still grappling with nationalism and shifting alliances, Bismarck's strategies remain as relevant today as they were in the 19th century. Chapter 15: Otto von Bismarck. From scattered states to a unified empire, Otto von Bismarck turned dreams into reality and chaos into order. His vision forged a nation that would dominate Europe's stage for generations. But history reminds us that even the greatest achievements carry consequences. Bismarck's name endures as a symbol of ambition, intellect, and power, a testament to how one man's will can change the fate of millions. Germany's unification was not destiny. It was engineered through strategy, patience, and relentless determination. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of Bismarck and German unification, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more cinematic explorations of history's turning points. The past is alive, and the next great story is just one click away.